Yogi friends. So glad you're here to practice with me today. This is going to be 30 minutes of Shushka Vayama, which just means subtle movement. These are the movements that we do before a practice, and I decided to put a whole lot of them together to just do a practice that is mostly warming up. So you can use this as a really gentle practice on a day where you may not be feeling well, but you still want to get some movement in, or you might be sore from some other workout, but you want to continue moving and kind of get the muscles woken up, but you don't want to do anything very strenuous. So these are gentle, subtle movements. You could also use this practice as a warm-up for another 30-minute practice and have a nice full hour, a 30-minute warm-up and then a 30-minute, a little bit more intense practice. So anyway you slice it, I hope that this is a good practice for you. Come into your comfy seat, get nice and comfortable here, cross-legged in any fashion that works best for you. And go ahead and close the eyes. Rest the hands on the legs, wherever's comfortable. Palms can be facing the ceiling. Palms can be facing the knees or the thighs. And take a notice of the points where your body is touching the floor, the mat. Notice where gravity is grounding you into the surface beneath you. Where in the legs, where in the bottom. Take a little notice of the spine. We want the spine to be erect, as if a thread or a string were just drawing the crown up toward the ceiling. Shoulders are back and down. Sits bones are grounded firmly. And chin is parallel to the floor. Let's begin here with some full yogic breaths. These are big belly breaths. So we fill the belly first, then fill the lungs, and then fill the chest and raise the collarbone slightly. And then as we exhale, lower the collarbone. You can feel the exhale coming out of the lungs, and then draw the belly in to press out that exhale fully. Let's do this twice more together. Full belly breath on the inhale. And a big full exhale. Drawing the tummy toward the spine. Once more. Big belly inhale and then a big exhale. From here, we're going to chant Om together one time. The chant of Om is a universal sound. It's the recognition that we're all connected through universal energy from which we all come. And it's just a reminder that we are all part of creation. So we take a full inhale, and on the exhale we'll chant Om. Om. We'll do this a couple more times, just noticing how the sound reverberations begin in the lower part of the torso and then move up through the lungs, up through the throat, and on up into the head as we close the chant. So let's do that twice more. Big inhale, filling the belly up. And once more, take a big inhale. And from here, we can Gently open the eyes. Bring the hands to reach out in front of the shoulders. Palms are facing the ceiling. Make gentle fists here, and then just start to rotate the hands. Just rotating the wrists, rather. And then you want to reverse that direction. And you may hear a little cracking of the joints there. As long as there's no pain involved, that's fine. You're usually kind of working out some kinks. If you hear a little snap, crackle, pop there. From here, let's extend the fingertips with the fingers wide and then raise the fingertips toward the ceiling. We'll inhale here and then exhale, point the fingertips toward the floor. Inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. And just continue that movement. Notice how this feels in the forearms and the wrists, maybe even into the upper arms and shoulders. Just notice how your body is responding. If you feel any places where there's some tightness you didn't even know was there, this can help to work that out. And the next time that the fingertips are up toward the ceiling, we're actually going to turn them so that they point out to either side. Take an inhale here and exhale as you point the fingers toward one another. So same type of move, but just out to the sides on the inhale and then pointing fingers toward one another on the exhale. And notice if one arm feels really different than the other one. Oftentimes you'll notice that only when doing stretches like this, that one arm may hold some more tension than the other. And the next time that they're opened out wide, we're going to bring the fingertips to the shoulders and just drop the elbows down to the ribs. And then we will, on the inhale, raise the elbows toward the front and then lift them up above the shoulders, noticing right in this spot whether your shoulders are crunched up toward the ears. If they are at all, we want to relax them back down. And then on an exhale, we'll just take the elbows slightly back and down. And you can do these shoulder circles at whatever speed works best for you. Just inhaling as you come forward and up, and exhaling as you go back and down. And a lot of these types of subtle movements and warm-up stretches can be really great if you spend a lot of time at a desk all day, at a computer, driving, reading, if you have to do a lot of those kinds of things during your day. These movements are going to help open up some of those muscle groups that we tend to have kind of hunched forward. Let's do one more full circle here. And then when the elbows are back down beside the ribs, we're going to lift them back and up. So we're just reversing these circles. But continuing to inhale as we come up and exhale as we come down. And we want to continue to keep our spine erect. And occasionally you might have a little trouble keeping that. You can use a towel just wrapped up and rolled up and put behind the tailbone. That can help. I use that quite often when I'm feeling I need a little extra support there to help keep my spine nice and straight, nice and tall. One more circle here, and when the elbows are back down by the ribs, we're just going to extend the arms out from the shoulders on either side. And at any time, if you need to rearrange your seat like I am, just to make sure the spine is erect, you can do so. Inhaling here, we'll exhale as we bring the fingertips to the shoulders. Inhale out, exhale in. Inhale out, exhale in. And just keep this movement going. Noticing again, where are you feeling the movements of your muscles? Are there any spots where you can definitely feel you're working out some tension? Is there a spot that might be a little sore and you just didn't know until you started this movement? Just notice the sensations. And from here, when the fingertips are extended out, let's lower the arms down to the mat. from here, we're actually going to lift them back up again about 12 inches off the mat. And then we're going to just begin to twist the torso from side to side, letting the shoulders guide the arms. So the arms are just extended and they're just moving along with the torso. And the head and neck the same. So everything's moving right along with this twist movement. And then we're going to begin to raise the arms up to shoulder height. Notice how that changes the sensation in the back. And then from here, we're going to raise the arms up above the head. You may even want to turn the palms so they face toward the center, toward one another. And notice how you get a different movement in a different bit of muscles in the upper back and shoulders from this heightened lift of the arms. And then we'll slowly come back down to shoulder height. It's a wonderful move for helping align the spine and loosening those muscles along the spine. And then again, we'll lower the fingertips all the way down to the mat. And then from here, we're going to start to move laterally. So that's just from side to side. So you may want to come back to just center for a moment and notice that the spine is erect. If it's not, we want to make sure that it is, because our only movement here is going to be from side to side. We don't want a curvature forward or back. So just lateral movement, side to side. Take some notice of your sits bones. We want them to be grounded. So if leaning to one side makes the bottom come up off the mat, then that just means we don't want to go as far. There are some people who have within their practice the ability to go all the way down on the forearm without the bottom raising up on the opposite side. That's not me. But if that's in your practice and you can do that today, go for it. This can open up the side body and the top part of that upper hip if you're doing a lot of sitting. So it's good for people that are sitting a lot during the day. And then let's take the opposite arm from the way you are tilting and just lift that arm up so that it's outstretched over the head. The bicep is close to the ear, not squeezed in, just relaxing the shoulder. The bicep is close to the ear, but it doesn't need to be touching. And just hold here and breathe for a moment and notice where you can feel the intensity of this move. And imagine drawing your inhale into that space where this might feel a little intense, and then on the exhale, drawing the tension away and taking it out of the body with that exhale. And then we're going to move over to the other side. Do the same thing here. Notice how it might feel different on this side. Holding here, remembering to breathe, drawing the inhale into the space where this is a little more intense, and then drawing that tension away and out of body with the exhale. And from here, we're going to continue that side-to-side movement and extend the arm overhead as we bend to the side. So we're not holding quite as long now, just bringing a little more increased pace to this movement. One more on each side, and notice how one side of the body may be a little tighter than the other on that side body. It's always good to notice these imbalances. We all are asymmetrical at times, and from day to day, hour to hour, that can change. It's just really good to pay attention to that while we're practicing. So from here, we're actually going to work on the jaw just a little bit. So we're going to open the mouth really wide and then close. Open and close. Just continue this move, even if it feels a little silly. And notice when you open wide, there might be some tension in that jaw. We often carry a lot of tension there. So open and close. Open, close. Open, close. Open, close. Now, the next time we open, keep the jaw open, and start to move the bottom jaw from side to side, or the bottom teeth rather, so this bottom part of the jaw. Okay, come back to stillness and let's close. Let's come up onto our hands and knees into a tabletop position. And we want to have a nice strong foundation before we do any movement here. So make sure, take a look at my hand. Fingers are spread nice and wide. And we want to grip into the fingertips. So we're taking some of the weight out of the wrist. And we want a nice straight line from shoulder to elbow to wrist in both arms. Knees should be directly under the hips. Feet are directly behind the knees. And we want a straight line from our crown to our tail, and we want to engage the navel just slightly to support that low back. And so from this nice foundation, where we're grounded and supported, we want to drop the belly down toward the earth as we raise the crown and the tailbone toward the sky. And we'll just hold here for a moment and notice how this feels. Notice if you can feel the stretch in the front of the body. We want to make sure that we don't crunch the neck too much. This is actually a spot where I injured myself once doing this very thing because I really crunched my neck and brought my shoulders up to my ears, and it was not a pleasant feeling. So keep the shoulders away from the ears and lengthen up through the crown. Now on an exhale, let's draw the belly toward the spine and curve the spine up toward the ceiling as we press into the base of the thumb and the tops of the feet and the knees to draw that belly up. Draw the navel up even toward the spine and hold here for a moment. Notice where you feel the sensations and where you might feel a good stretch. And then let's drop the belly down, raising crown and head again. This is our cow. And as we draw the spine up toward the ceiling and curve it up that direction, then we're going into our cat. So continue this movement, just working out any tension around the spine. Spinal flexibility is really good for overall health. So if you have a day when you're in a big hurry, doing a few cat-cows and a couple of these other moves can really help. If you don't have time for a full practice, even a little bit is better than nothing at all. All right, let's come back to our neutral tabletop position. And then we're going to move the palms just one palm's length forward. Curl the toes under behind you. And then we're going to lift the hips up in the air into our downward facing dog. So again, we're pressing into that muscly part of the hand that's at the base of the thumb. And you may want to pedal your feet here, and that just means press one heel toward the mat while you really generously bend the other knee. And you can continue to do that back and forth. This is another spot where I sometimes hear some, cracking in the joints. And again, as long as there's no pain involved, it's a-okay. My philosophy is a little discomfort usually means we need to pay attention to that area. But if the discomfort crosses the line over into pain, that is an absolute message from your body to back off, to either modify that pose, or maybe even just sit that one out and do something that works better for your body that day. So really listen to your body and what it needs. Pay close attention to that and respect what it's telling you. Let's come into stillness here in the downward dog. We're pressing the heels toward the mat. You may need to have a nice bend in the knees here. We want to respect what our body can do today. So we don't want to overdo it. So the heels may not come to the mat, but we are pressing them toward the mat. Wherever they come today is just right for today. We want the shoulders to be down the back away from the ears, and we want to imagine the tailbone reaching toward the crease between the wall and the ceiling behind us. Take a big breath in here, and a nice full exhale. And then we're going to walk the feet up toward the front of our mat to meet our hands. And we're here in a forward fold now. We're just going to sway a little bit from side to side. And again, have a nice generous bend in the knees here. We don't want to lock out any joints. You know, if you want to, over the course of a few seconds, straighten the knees a bit, that's a-okay. But when you first come into this forward fold, it's nice to have a bend in the knees, providing you the support that you need. And you can always clasp the opposite hand and opposite elbow as you sway from side to side here. I like to do a little shake of the head, just a yes and a no. That can help to release tension in the neck. And from here, we're going to roll up nice and slow, one vertebra at a time, into a nice tall mountain pose. Opening up through the chest, rolling the shoulders back and down. Engaging the thighs to just raise the kneecaps slightly, drawing the belly button toward the spine slightly. Tailbone is pointing toward the ceiling. I'm sorry, tailbone is pointing toward the floor. And crown is lifting toward the ceiling. We aren't doing any handstands right now. So from this position, if you're not laughing at me, hopefully you're laughing with me. Let's come to the middle of our mat. And we're going to do some neck movements because we do often have a lot of tension in the neck. And so in our mountain pose here, we want to just drop one ear toward the shoulder. And depending upon how much tension there is, it's going to determine how far you go. We don't want to ever feel pain in the neck. We really want to respect. There's so many muscles and vertebra there that we need to respect whatever messages we're hearing. So just tilt that ear as far as is workable today and hold there for a moment. And on an exhale, let's come back up to center. Take an inhale here, and then on an exhale, drop the opposite ear to the opposite shoulder. And we want to have some space there. So shoulders are just down and relaxed. We don't want to draw them up toward the ears. Down and relaxed with the shoulders. And holding here for a breath. Inhale, and on an exhale, come back up. Inhale here. On an exhale, drop your chin toward your chest and notice where you feel this sensation, this stretch. Back of the neck, maybe the upper back, the shoulders. Inhale and raise the nose up toward the ceiling or the sky. We don't want to over crunch the back of the neck, so respect what you're feeling there. Dropping the nose back toward the floor, chin toward the chest. And then we're going to start making circles. So bring one ear to one shoulder, rolling back a bit and lifting nose towards sky, and then taking opposite ear to opposite shoulder. And I would do these at a pace that is comfortable for you. So listen to your body, what it's telling you about pacing today, and do this at a pace that works best for you. Let's make one more full circle going the same direction, and the next time that your chin is at your chest, we're going to just reverse the circles. Reversing circles all around. And again, you may hear some internal noises within the neck muscles here. And again, perfectly fine as long as there's no pain. And if you reach a point where you are like, oh, I need to hang here for a minute, I need to give a little extra time to that spot, then do that, because that's often the case. If you want to add a little bit of intensity to the stretch, just place the hand atop the head and let it rest there. We're not pulling, we're just letting it rest. And if you want to add some more intensity, extend the fingertips out to the opposite side from what your head is tilting, so that hilt of the head is going one direction. The outstretched fingers are going to the opposite side. And that can add some intensity and even some slight movement of that outstretched arm can add some intensity if you move it just slowly to different positions. All right, let's come back up to center now. And since I did that, I'm going to balance things out. And I'm going to tilt my head toward the opposite shoulder and bring that hand from the same shoulder I'm tilting toward to rest atop my head, just resting there. And then extending the opposite arm out to the opposite side. Because I want to balance out my movements. The body's a little asymmetrical already, so I don't want to add to that. That's one reason why we always try to make sure we give equal time to these stretches on both sides of the body. And then from here, we'll drop the arms and raise the head back up to neutral. We're going to raise the arms out directly in front of the shoulders, and it's going to look as if we have an imaginary block between the hands. And this is Katichakrasana. So we're twisting from the hips. We want the knees, the feet, everything below the top of the hips to stay pointing forward. But we're going to twist here. And we don't want the knees to twist with us because that can really cause an injury. So if that means you go to just this far, that's great. So we want to pay very close attention to the knees so that we don't cause any injuries here, because that is the last thing we want. And you may find that as you are in this position for a moment and you hold here and breathe, don't forget to breathe, that you might even be able to go just an inch or two more after having been in the position for a moment. And that's often the case with whatever poses that we're in. Once we're there for a moment, sometimes we can go just slightly further. Big breath here. Let's come back to center. And we're going to do the same move on the other side. So keeping our imaginary block between our hands, keeping our knees facing forward, thighs facing forward. Really our twist, I think I said hips, it's more coming from the waist, because the hips are facing forward too. Remembering to breathe here. And after you've been here for a second, if you want to see if you can go just a tiny bit further without twisting the legs, you can do that. One more full breath here, and then we'll come back to center and lower the arms. Bring hands to hips. We're going to lift up one foot onto the toe. And then we're going to extend that foot out in front and just swing the leg from the hip, front to back. And you can go as high as comfortable for you, but you want to be able to keep your balance. So you may need to extend the arms out to the sides to help with that. It helps with some mobility in the hips. And we're just getting, again, warmed up here, some subtle warm-up movements. Next time that your foot is extended out front, bend the knee as if you're kicking an imaginary soccer ball. And you just keep kicking. So again, adding some mobility here in the knee, getting it warmed up. And next time the foot is extended out front, let's make some ankle circles. So warm up our ankles too. And then opposite direction with those circles. And then we'll lower that leg, maybe give it a pat or a good shake because we did some work there. And we'll do these moves on the opposite side. You can start with hands on the hips or extend them out. Whatever works best for your balance. And then we'll kick forward and back. Moving from the hip. Sometimes if we draw the navel in slightly, that can help with balance too. And think of the crown extending up toward the ceiling. That can help as well. Next time foot is extended out in front, we'll bend at the knee, kicking that imaginary ball. And the next time the foot is extended out in front, let's make our ankle circles one direction and then the opposite direction. And we'll bring that foot down, shake out the legs. It is a subtle movement, but it is some work, and you can usually feel it. From here, let's raise the arms up above the head. Clasp in a steeple grip, so that means that the pointer fingers are pointing up and the thumbs are touching, the other fingers are interlaced. And from here, imagine again that string drawing the crown up to the ceiling. And we're going to press the hips out to one side and lean the upper body to the opposite side. Keeping the arms extended, biceps are on either side of the ears, and we're going to hold here for a minute. Holding in this position, tailbone is pointing toward the floor. Navel is drawn in to support that low back. And let's rise back up to center. Extending again through the crown, lowering the shoulders away from the ears, and then pressing hips out to the opposite side. And upper body is bending to the other side, away from the bend of the hips. And again, we're going to hold here. Hold here and breathe. Noticing tailbone is pointing toward the floor, navel is drawn in to support that low back. You might even feel a little shake or shimmy here as the muscles are engaged. And then let's come back up to center and lower our arms. This next move is another twist. And we're just going to let the arms again follow the shoulders. Keeping in mind we don't want the knees to be twisting, so you might want a little slight bend in the knee. And we're just letting the arms flow with the movement, not putting any effort into the movement of the arms. All right, this should feel pretty nice. If you get any discomfort or any pain in the low back, just don't make your twist go quite as far. You can still get some of this subtle movement without going quite as far in the twist. All right, let's come into stillness. And from here, let's raise the arms up so that we're bending elbows and raising the hands just directly out in front of the elbows. We're going to raise the knees up just to touch the hands. So again, we're getting some warming up here. And if you want, you can even raise the hands slightly and see if you can bring the knees up a little further. All right, and let's come back into a still position. From here, we're actually going to do one balancing pose, and this is a tree pose. So we're going to, and if balance is an issue, you can always do this with one hand against the wall and lifting the opposite leg. Or you can have a chair beside you or something to give you some extra balance. So if you haven't done tree pose before, then as you're giving it a try, I would suggest really grounding into your standing leg. Think about the heel really being grounded, and the heel and the ball of the foot, the pinky toe side of the foot, and the outer edge of the heel. Really grounding in and holding your weight and pressing into that leg as you come up onto the opposite toe. This is a really good way to start on the toe, because that's going to help you feel whether you've got some balance already or whether you've got a little unsteadiness to work with today. And quite frankly, from day to day, hour to hour, your balance can be really different. All right, so from here, you can bring that toe, let's put the hands on the hips to start. You can bring the sole of that foot just inside the calf, maybe even just inside the heel. That's an option. You can certainly stay right here if you do feel unsteady today. You can bring the foot up above the knee even, and all the way up into the groin, if that's available to you today. And if you are all the way up here, really press this foot into the inside of the thigh as you're pressing the standing leg into the ground. And if you'd like to draw the hands up into a prayer position up above your head, that's an option for this. One of the things that will help with balance, no matter where your foot is to find a stationary point in front of you, even 12 inches above your eyesight, line of sight, and just stare at that point because it is stationary and it will help you to stay stationary. Drawing the belly in just slightly will help. Lengthening through the crown will also help. And remembering to keep that standing leg pressing into the earth. And if you at some point wobble and fall, that's a-okay. We're working on balance. This is a perfect metaphor for life. Things come our way, we get out of balance, and we have to come back into balance. And so our yoga practice is a wonderful example of how we get off kilter, and then we come back, and we find what will bring us into steadiness again. Another option for hands is to even bring that prayer position down to the heart and settle in there. And then we'll just release that foot, and we're going to do this on the opposite side. Maybe shake out the legs a little bit here. One's been working really hard standing, and the other holding in position. And again, let's start with hands on the hips here. Pressing into the grounding foot, really pressing into it, engaging the thigh, and lifting up through the crown and drawing the belly in here, even at the very beginning. If you can find your stationary point from right here too, having all of this foundational stuff ready for your balance is really helpful in staying balanced. Come up onto that toe, and if you want to stay here, a-okay, and then you can do any type of moves with the arms. If you want to bring the sole of the foot to the inside of the heel, inside of the calf, that's an option. You can also bring that foot, if it's within your practice, all the way up inside the standing thigh. And you can draw the hands up above the head into your prayer position. You can even make tree branches. Bring your prayer position to the heart space. Remembering that stationary point. The term for that is a drishti. Drishti is that focal point that keeps you steady. And holding here and breathing. Developing balance is really good for us because as we age, we naturally become a little bit less balanced. And so our center of gravity gets a little off kilter, and developing this balance can help to counteract that. So you're doing a good thing for yourself here today. All right, from here, let's release that leg back down. And then we're going to just come into a low squat. And if you have knee problems here, then I would suggest coming on to a block, which I don't have handy at the moment, but I do have my bolster. So we're going to use it as a substitute. This will help to not put as much stress on the knees if you're putting a block or a bolster underneath yourself, so that's providing a lot of support. If you don't need that support, then I would encourage you to do just a little bit of a rock back and forth here. Pay attention to those knees though, because they will be talking to you if they don't like this, and we do not want to cause any injuries. We want to be kind to the body and listen to what it's telling us. This little bit of rocking can help to really open up the hips. If we do a lot of sitting, the hips can get really tight. Helps to open up the groin, the pelvic floor muscles. All of those things are working hard when we are sitting. So this is a good move for that. You can come into stillness here if you like. This is another spot where the block or the bolster underneath the bottom can be really helpful if this is a little intense on the knees and the hips. We'll hold here for just a minute. One big breath, close the eyes. And then we'll use the hands to bring ourselves back to our seated position. And here we are, right where we started. So I hope that this has been a practice that's helped you warm up the body, either to do some subtle work on a day when you needed something a little more gentle, or that you can step into a little bit more intense practice if you want to extend your practice out to an hour. Let's bring the hands into prayer position, and we will close here for those that are ending their practice right now. Let's chant Om together once, but prior to that, let's close the eyes and take a little notice of how you're feeling now versus when you first came to your practice. How does the body feel? What's the heart rate like? How has the breathing pattern changed? How does the mind feel? What's the state of mind now versus when we first showed up? And what about our emotions? How is our emotional well-being right now versus when we first came to practice together? Notice those spots again where the body is grounded into the surface beneath you. Draw attention to the breath. Take a big full breath and we'll close with a single Om. And drawing the prayer position so that thumbs touch the forehead. May we have peace in our thoughts. Thumbs at the lips. May we have peace in our words. Thumbs at the heart space. May we have peace in our thoughts. The light in me recognizes and honors the light in you. And so I say, Namaste. Thank you so much for coming to practice with me today. I'm really happy you took this time for yourself, and that I hope brought some peace and tranquility into your day that you can carry on as you move about the outer world. Thanks again for being here, and I look forward to practicing with you again soon. Namaste.